Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 56, and I am your host, Zoey Wild. I am a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. So, this week, as most weeks I'd probably do this at this point, it's usually a little bit different every time, but it's just me for the news this week. As I'm sure in the video version you can tell, there's no guests here. So, in terms of headlines, this week is actually fairly light, although the news we have is pretty interesting. So first off, the Horizon Zero Dawn movie might actually have a release date, kind of, sort of, maybe. We'll see. Some games industry people are fighting back on layoffs, actually, so there's two stories there about that. Nintendo got hacked again, maybe, kind of, not really, but everything is okay this time, apparently. So, don't worry. And the PS6 and whatever the heck they're calling the next Xbox, the Xbox 720, the Xbox 2, the Xbox Series T, and Y? I really don't know where they're going with the Xbox naming. The next name will probably just be the Xbox. Anyway, the PS6 and the Xbox are, which is what I'm going to call it, the Xbox, are hurtling towards the release dates that you think they are, much to my chagrin, and probably yours as well, maybe. But we'll talk about that. After the news, I'm going to jump straight into a discussion with Amy-Lynn, Juno, and Nicole, who are joining me for Pokémon Legends Z-A talk. So, with Legends Z-A, we're not going to talk too much about spoilers, but we're going to talk up to the first battle with Vinny. That's as far as we'll go with spoilers. In fact, this discussion is actually recorded, and we didn't really talk much in the way of spoilers. So, but if you haven't played the game or you haven't played the game that far yet, I do recommend maybe going to play more of the game and then coming back to this episode. Before jumping into all of that, though, of course, I have a few quick favors to ask of you, True Avatars. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. Spotify has ratings and comments, while Apple has reviews. Engagement like comments, ratings, and reviews helps to grow the podcast, which means a happy podcast host, who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to her ramblings, which creates an infinite feedback loop of more episodes, happier Zoey, even more episodes, so on and so forth. So please go leave a comment, rating, or review. And if you are watching the video version on YouTube, please like this episode, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you're the first to know when a brand new video or an episode of the podcast drops. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast, on social media. There are accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok. I know I still gotta update that TikTok. I keep saying every episode, I'm like, this is the week. If I'm being honest with you, this is probably not the week. But maybe it could be. Maybe that I've said it's not the week, it'll be the week. But now that I'm talking about it this much in depth, it probably won't be the week. But anyway, there is a TikTok, and you can follow all those accounts. That's again, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok, at True Avatars. And you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, no spaces. And there's gonna be blog posts there very shortly. Lloyd has a really great one he's working on, and I'm gonna have one as well that's just kind of about the state of the podcast. At some point, those will go up as well. Again, this week is probably not the week, because people are busy. This is not our full-time job. This is like a side thing that we just do in our spare time. So, it's hard to kind of focus a little bit with everything else going on in our lives, but we'll get there. I promise. I want this to be, a good hub for queer video game content. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so the podcast is consistent. Check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and updated discussions that are relevant to queer gamers. So you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2SL LGBTQIA+ lens. It's that time for the news. Okay, that is not the theme song. So PlayStation 6 and whatever the heck they're calling the next Xbox are coming in 2027. This comes from a reliable insider / leaker, who's also had accurate information in the past about AMD hardware. Again, I didn't really verify this myself, but, this came from Video Games Chronicle, so they're running the story. And I'm not sure if this is always the case, but a lot of times that, like outlets like VGC and Nintendo Life run these stories, it's usually because they have their own source that they can't verify, so they can't report on it themselves, and also they don't want to break the news and upset, Sony, Nintendo, Xbox, whoever, by breaking the story and losing access that they get from these companies. So instead, they report on a leaker saying it, even though they also have inside information themselves. Again, I don't know for sure if this is the case, but they're reporting on this story, which does give a little bit of veracity, hopefully, to it. Excuse me. Just gonna take a sip of water. I'm already done here. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. But anyway, the big news here is that it seems to be there's verifiable information that the next generation consoles are coming in PS6 in 2027, like the PS6 and the Xbox. My opinions on this is that it's still too early. Consoles are very expensive. Consoles are very, very expensive. And people just like dealt with a price increase. And you know that these next consoles are going to be even more expensive. So like people that are buying a console now probably aren't going to buy that new one. I bought a console. I think I bought my PS5 in, I want to say 2021. Maybe it was 2022. And honestly, with the support the hardware has gotten, the Xbox Series S as well, I have one of those as well. And to be honest, the support this hardware is getting is like basically non-existent. Like, I don't want to like crap on these consoles and say there's no games, because there are games, but a lot of them are third party. A lot of them are cross generation. A lot of stuff is still being released for PS4, mainly because it's still being developed for Switch 1. So of course it's going to get PS4 support. But like, for example, like this year, I think Sony's big game was just Ghost of Yotei. I don't think there was anything between Astrobot and Ghost of Yotei that came from Sony proper, first party. So next year we know there's Saros, or Saros, whatever you say, however you say it. And then there's Wolverine as well in the fall, but there was nothing else announced for next year. And I with GTA currently planned for the summer, like for May, I can't imagine there's going to be too much during the summer months. Even Nintendo doesn't really release a lot during the summer, and they release a lot of games. Same with Xbox. I think this year, is it just Outer Worlds? No, they also did Doom, I think. There was a bunch of stuff earlier in the year, so there's been a bit more from Xbox. But for the first few years there, it was touch and go. There was like a whole presentation they did at one point where they were like, look at all the games coming, and then like for the next year, there was literally nothing. So between the price and the support, it really feels like we're just getting there. And the only other game that Sony has officially announced is Intergalactic from Naughty Dog, and we don't have a date on that. If I had to guess, the way Naughty Dog releases things is usually like the summer before a new console. So if 2027 is the date for the PS6, my guess would be anywhere from March to June for Intergalactic of 2027. So like, we know Final Fantasy VII Part 3 is coming. Like, we know a bunch of third-party stuff is coming, but I just feel like Nintendo released a whole bunch of games for the Switch 2 this year with more to come. And, you know, Sony's already neck deep in this generation, and they don't have much to show for it. I don't know. I know that's not a popular opinion, and a lot of people have arguments against this, and there's still games. There is, but if you look at the amount of games that were coming out in the PS2, PS3, PS4 generations versus now, the support is still just not there. And I would really like, with the cost and everything, I still feel like I'm getting used to my PS5. I think they should wait till 2030. To do the next generation. Plus that allows game developers, especially third-party game developers, to kind of like catch up to the Switch 2 and develop games for the Switch 2 and the PS5 and the Xbox. And then when 2030 hits, release the next generation, and then the games they're developing for the PS6 can start being phased out on like Switch 2 and stuff like that. The third-party support can die off unnaturally, like natural causes, haha. Because at that point, you know, let's say it's 8 years for the Switch 3 to come out, or whatever Nintendo's next console is. That's 2033. So that's only like a 3-year window where that support starts to die off. It really will be healthier for the games industry. Also, I just feel like games don't need to look any better. That's my other point too, is like, if you do a PS6, like, sure, like the frame rates might be more stable, but you're just going to end up aiming for better looking games that are more realistic, and then the frame rate will suffer again anyway. I feel like we should just optimize for the PS5 and call it a day, honestly. You know, develop for the Switch 2, upscale for the PS6, and like call it a day. Like, that's where we need to be for games. Like, you could make smaller games that look slightly worse. I know this is like a common tweet and I'm quoting it. I don't remember who said it, but like, I want worse games that run, like smaller games that run slightly worse and with worse visuals or something like that. Like, you know, or not as detailed. I don't know. I'm not ready. Like, I'm not going to buy a PS6 in 2027 unless there's some game that like the only reason it would be like software. There would have to be something on the PS6 that I can't play anywhere else. The reason I bought my PS5 was because Apple Music was on it. I know, Apple Music user, but that's where my ecosystem has been since iTunes, so all my music is there. So I wanted to play Hot Wheels Unleashed 1 with my Apple Music, because that's my favorite. That's my de-stressor, is to get really hyped listening to rock music while I drive my cars. It's like race in a Hot Wheels game. That's like always been my like comfort thing. It's how I relax. So knowing that like I didn't have to just throw in headphones and I could actually have the music blend in with the sound effects in the game, I was like, well, Apple Music isn't on PS4, but it's on PS5. It's time to buy a PS5. For the PS6, unless like Intergalactic or like, let's say Spider-Man 3 is only on the PS6, that's when I'd be jumping in. So unless any of that stuff is like a launch window game, and I'm talking like Intergalactic is not coming to PS5, but only PS6 situation, that's where I would definitely draw the line and say, okay, I'm going to get a PS6. But honestly, like, with the install base of the PS6 probably going to be even less than the PS5, and PS5 is even less than the PS4, I feel like they're still going to be putting, like, I saw a hard drive, was it a hard drive article that said, like, something like, PS4 games will run slightly better on PS6 now that the PS6 is releasing, or something like that. I just, I don't really want a PS6. I don't plan to buy one, but if you disagree with me, or you're planning to buy a PS6 in 2027, if that's indeed the release date, please drop a comment in the YouTube or the Spotify or social media where this post has been shared, where this episode has been shared. Like, tell me, like, I genuinely want to know. Like, I'm not looking to argue. I just, like, what's your reason for investing in a PS6? Cause I'd be very curious, like, if the PS6 does well, like, I'd be surprised. But, the one thing I can see the PS6 doing well is, like, if GTA 6 runs at 30 FPS, for example, and then they get it running at 60 on PS6, then I could see that being, like, a reason a lot of people would invest in it, and that might be a good reason to. But for me, I would really like to just see, like, better optimization for PS5. Like, it really feels like we've kind of leapfrogged. If they release the PS6, it really will feel like we've leapfrogged over the PS5 era, because this generation has felt, Switch console aside, has felt really kind of barren. The games we've gotten, to be fair, are great. Like, I know there's been Spider-Man 2, God of War, Horizon, Forbidden West, Astrobot. Astrobot is my favorite of all those games. The remasters of The Last of Us, I know those are controversial. I love them. I think they look amazing. And all these are possible because of the PS5. When the PS5 generation started, there was a leak that Sony was working on 25 games, and then most of those ended up being live service games. And I don't know if that leak was true, but a lot of live service games have been canceled over the past few years, with very few first-party games to show for it. And we know that the PS5 only got to where it got was because of, stuff like GTA and Fortnite and stuff, but for the most part, it was the single-player content that drove the sales of the PS4. Or at least that's how it feels to me. Because that's what I bought mine for. And I feel like I'm not the average consumer. I have a video game podcast, but I feel like, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm on a soapbox here. I'm not buying the PS6 at launch, but if you are, I want to know why. Tell me, genuinely, respectfully, down in the comments. Like, I just literally want to know. Like, I'm so curious. Maybe I'll even share your answers on the next episode if there's enough of them, or if there's an interesting response. So, yeah, tell me. I'm going to move on now, though. Speaking of Sony, I'm talking a lot about Sony lately. The Light of Moderum lawsuit just keeps on giving. So in episodes 46 and 52, I talked about this, how Sony is suing Tencent for developing a Horizon Zero Dawn ripoff game. Highly recommend going back to episode 46 and listening to the context there, and then 52 for the follow-up. But we now know from that lawsuit, Sony has had to file court documents that are public. And so apparently, they have a script done for the Horizon Zero Dawn movie. I don't know if it's actually based on Zero Dawn, or if it's just a Horizon movie based on that universe. Either way, they have a script done. They're looking for a director. They plan to shoot next year and release in 2027. I have some concerns. Not about the content of the movie. I think the movie will probably be good. I think this is unlikely to happen for a variety of reasons. I think once you get a director on board, unless the director is a complete, journeyman, just wants to completely stick to exactly what Sony's doing, although, for the most part, once they hire a director, that's when pre-production starts in earnest, and I don't think that they will have done a ton of that, planning work outside of the script without a director, because you really do want a director to kind of, manage that. At the end of the day, the director is, a manager and, what's the word I'm looking for? Delegating. The director does a lot of that, cohesiveness, right? I'm not undermining what the director does, but the director is there for cohesion of vision. And yeah, producers can do that too, absolutely. But the producers are money people. They're not always the creative people. They might put their foot down on something creative when it involves money, but they might not, have that cohesion that they need, right? They're here's the pitch. We need a director to carry out that vision, right? And so directors do bring a little bit of their spice to that vision. And that means scripts get reworked. Scripts get rewritten, storyboards get reworked. If storyboards haven't happened, storyboards are started, location scouting starts, things actually start getting honed in and practicalities are brought in. These are good things, but they take time. And so I think even if they found a director or I'm recording this on Sunday, if they found a director on Monday morning, they would still have to get all that underway for next year. If they started right now and found a director tomorrow, maybe they could get all this done. Shoot next year. This is a big production, right? It's going to take a few months, probably anywhere from 4 to 8 months to shoot this movie. And remember, also, for preface, I come from film. I'm not from the video games industry. I have all my training and skills. I make movies and I work as a video editor. I have a lot of knowledge on this, or at least I like to think I do. And then, so after that, though, you've got post-production. which starts as soon as shooting begins, and even before, but like for CGI and stuff, like that's a lot of effects heavy stuff. And even Marvel movies need a lot of time for that they don't get. So, you know, like 2027, like late 2027 might be realistic. But I think this is 2028 or later, assuming they even find a director soon. Like we don't even know if they're even like close to finding a director. And again, they could find a director too, and like everything gets reworked, and we don't see this for years. There's a movie, this is not video game related, but there was a movie I've been following for years, the Thomas the Tank Engine movie. They found a director, I think, in 2020. And actually it's funny too, because when I saw the Christopher Robin movie, the live action Winnie the Pooh that they did, I said, this director would make a great Thomas the Tank Engine movie if they hired him. And they did. They ended up hiring him. They listened to me because I am brilliant, clearly. And they hired this guy, and there's still nothing to show for that movie. Years later, they keep talking about it in like press releases, but like we don't even know if there's a script. Like we don't know what's going on with that. And it's 2020. It's been 5 years. So finding a director sometimes means diddly squat. Yeah. So anyway, it'd be really cool if this made 2027. There's like a lot of, to be honest, I think the funniest reason for it to come out in 2027 is they could release it the same week as the Legend of Zelda movie. And keep the tradition of Horizon releasing at the same time, the same window as something else that's very similar to it and getting completely overshadowed by the other thing. It's a time-honored tradition at this point that Horizon gets overshadowed by other things. So I think even the Lego game got overshadowed by something too. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, it's like Sonic releasing a new game the same year as Mario. Like Mario does a Mario Kart game, so does Sonic. You know, Mario brings back their 2D platformers, so does Sonic. You know, it's just like, anyway. All right, I'm going to move on, though. Speaking of more lawsuits, this is actually kind of fun. So there were no layoffs this week. There were no layoffs. This is good news. Although, to be honest, there were no layoffs that I know about. Possible there still were. If there were, and you were affected by that, I'm very sorry. I'm with you in saying F the company. I hope you find, you know, land on your feet. Or if you know someone, you know, like and also if I didn't hear about it and you want to share it on the podcast, please, like, reach out. Like, tell me, please. I'm one person. I only read a handful of news sites unless something comes across my feed. I try to like follow the news sites where I think there's kind of a smattering of everything, but sometimes I don't catch everything. So, anyway, this first layoff, not layoff. So people are starting to fight back against layoffs in these two stories that I found. So, and it's the industry fighting back. It's not just like random gamers, right? And this first story comes from Video Games Chronicle, and I'm going to read the story here. Union workers are filing legal action against Zeyay Studio, Build a Rocket Boy, over what it claims was, quote, a disastrous handling of redundancies, unquote. Still reading from the article here. In June, it was reported that the Edinburgh-based studio I've always been confused about the pronunciation of that. I think it's Edinburgh. Edinburgh-based studio had started the process of laying off numerous staff following the disastrous launch of Zeyay on June 10th. And now the game workers branch of the Independent Workers Great Britain Union are filing multiple legal actions against the studio, accusing it of, quote, failure to carry out fair consultation ahead of redundancies, as well as multiple cases of unfair dismissal. I'm going to read that again. Failure to carry out fair consultation ahead of redundancies, as well as multiple cases of unfair dismissal. End quote. So that's the whole thing from the article here. So, I can't remember if we covered it on, the podcast because it was during a busy time, but, I know that, yeah, there were layoffs, at Zeyay because of Zeyay at Build a Rocket Boy. So the fact that, like, countries that have unions that are, I don't want to call every union spineless, but I definitely know that the Canada Post Union is acting a little bit not great here. They're doing their best, obviously, and I support unions. Like, if you're anti-union, I don't care if, like, there's a good reason for you. Like, we have unions for a reason. Could unions be better? Absolutely. But, like, even the unions we have that are bad are still better than no union at all. That is my opinion. Probably won't be swayed. Anyway, I like that this union is fighting back because we're seeing a lot of unions just kind of bending the knee, so to speak, to corporations. And I really do think that, like, it's nice that this British union is fighting back against these layoffs, because even if the layoffs had to happen and there's nothing they can do about it, like, at least maybe they can fight for a better deal, for the severance package, for finding new jobs. Anything they can do to help is good. Also, the more people in general fighting back is good, because it might send a message to these corporations that what they're doing is wrong. Like, I know there were a lot of hires during the pandemic because video games saw a surge in popularity, and then as soon as people went back to work, that surge died down, obviously, because people have less time to play video games, myself included. So then a lot of these games became like, well, these aren't financially viable, so now we have to let all these people go. And so the video games industry is, like, almost like this is the closest we've ever come to the games industry dying off the way it did in the 80s. I don't think it's going to get that bad. And fortunately, I think it needs a reckoning is the unfortunate part, but I don't think this is going to be the reckoning that kind of wakes people up. But maybe it can if more unions fight back. Kind of stumbling over my words here. Don't want to see layoffs happen to anyone. I want to be clear. The second story follows up on, I want to say it was episode 54. Yes, it was episode 54, where we discussed the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund acquisition of Electronic Arts, EA Games. So this story comes from PC Gamer, and I'm quoting from the article here. The $55 billion acquisition of Electronic Arts by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund and private equity firms is facing more pushback as the United Video Game Workers CWA union has put out a statement calling on regulators and lawmakers to, quote, ensure that any path forward protects jobs, preserves creative freedom, and keeps decision-making accountable to the workers who make EA successful, unquote. Still quoting from the article here. And this is also another quote. EA's success has been entirely driven by tens of thousands of EA's workers whose creativity, skill, and innovation made EA worth buying in the first place. Yet we, the very people who were jeopardized as a result of this deal, were not represented at all when this buyout was negotiated or discussed. End quote from, I actually forgot to note who said that here, but I think it wasn't actually written there, or it was by someone else. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Continuing my quote here, though. Noting that EA had to take on nearly $20 billion in debt to finance the deal, PC Gamer's Lincoln Carpenter has a detailed explainer of the leveraged buyout if you want to know why so many people are deeply worried about how this is going to work out. The union expressed particular concern about the fate of EA Studios arbitrarily deemed less profitable in the wake of the deal. That concern is particularly pronounced given the tens of thousands of layoffs that have already occurred across the industry over the past few years, even at companies who seem to be doing quite well. So there's some argument here that EA is doing well, but also they're $20 billion in debt. I think it's pretty fair to say there's going to be layoffs at EA. What those will look like obviously remains to be seen. I don't want them to happen, and if they can be prevented, great. But I feel like the way the industry is going, like even Microsoft that bought, this is the second biggest acquisition of all time behind the Activision buyout from Microsoft. And we know that Microsoft laid off people at Activision, Blizzard, and King as recently as like a few months ago. So I think it's fair to say that redundancies will be, let go, and that's horrible. And it's BS. And so getting ahead of it is good. I think statements like this are good. We need to see more action, and obviously they're calling on lawmakers to do it. But I genuinely don't believe that anyone in law right now, like lawmakers, government, what have you, people in positions of power to make real change, I don't think they're interested in making real change right now. I think most of these people are much more interested in supporting what's left of late-stage capitalism as we all drive ourselves into a rather shallow grave, so to speak. Early grave? Shallow grave? Either way, it's not good for all of us right now. I think we're all feeling the pressures of cost of living and everything else happening. And also the fact that like jobs are hard to find and people say no one wants to work, but people want to work. We just can't find jobs. And having to do like 1 million interviews just to get rejected. Like the job market is terrible. Just everything happening in the world is terrible right now. So doing anything we can to enact real change. And I hope this message gets to the people it needs to hear. This isn't doubt on their message. This is doubt on the ears that need to hear it, actually taking heed of that warning and that ask. So, yeah, I mean, obviously it would be nice if this deal didn't go through. It'd be nice if Disney hadn't bought Fox. It would be nice if Microsoft hadn't bought Activision, Blizzard, King. These buyouts have to happen. It'd be nice if it was only better for everyone involved, but it seems to only be helping the people at the top's pocketbooks. So, anyway, again, that is my soapbox, and I'm climbing off it now. This next news story I'm going to go over super quick because I really don't like supporting Quantic Dream. I don't like giving them attention. Their games in the past have been mildly queer, but for the most part, they're not great. Anyway, Quantic Dream does have a new game. It's a multiplayer 3v3 game called Spellcaster Chronicles with a closed beta planned for this year. That's all I'm going to say about that. Again, I'm not a fan of the guy in charge of Quantic Dream. Notoriously, this person is an anti-LGBTQ plus person, despite his games having a little bit of queerness kind of thrown in there. I really, as a podcast host who's trying to, hopefully sway you one way or the other, I really don't recommend supporting this developer. I did hesitate to include this news because of the developer, but I also knew it was a chance to share this information and allow my audience, and not the information about the new game, but also the information about, this developer being anti-queer. and to allow you to make your own choice. And just letting you know that what has been said, like that things have been, and I'm not going to quote them back here because they're just awful. You don't need to hear that, but slurs, anti-queerness in general has come out of this person's mouth, David Cage's mouth. That's the person. Like if you want to go and you want to play Hogwarts Legacy, you do you. I just ask that you have the information that you need to be able to make that informed choice as a buyer and as a player, to decide what you're going to do. Make an informed choice before you vote with your wallet or vote with your time, vote with your attention, right? So anyway, if you're interested in this game, cool. Obviously, because this comes from a story, you can find it down in the show notes, but that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not even going to repeat the game's name because I personally don't feel they're worth the platform I'm giving them right now, but just to let you know that, again, they're anti-queer. All right. Last news story. Don't worry, I'm almost done rambling here. Nintendo was reportedly hacked. They confirmed, though, that no player data was stolen. So this is my concern, is that Crimson Collective, a hacker group, has claimed that they breached Nintendo and they were holding the stolen data ransom. They wanted money from Nintendo. So my concern was that, do we got to change our passwords? Do we got to go update our information with the credit card company? Do we got to get a new credit card number? What information did they get? Because we know that I think Sony's been hacked a couple times, or at least once, and player information, like usernames, passwords, emails, contact info, addresses, credit card info. Some of that stuff has been stolen in the past from games companies. So my concern was did they get this stuff from Nintendo? And for a few days there, we weren't really sure, what was stolen, but Nintendo did confirm publicly that no player information like names, emails, birth dates, passwords, or credit card info was taken in the breach. Still not really sure even if Crimson Collective actually got anything, since Nintendo basically said they found no evidence anything of value was stolen. So are they bluffing? Did they just get something very low level off a website? What's, I'm almost cautiously skeptical that they didn't get player information. The first thing people were tweeting was change your passwords. And to be honest, anyway. Probably actually shouldn't say that here, but anyway. Yeah, so anyway, if you're worried, obviously change your password. Maybe don't keep your credit card information attached to your accounts if you can avoid it. But yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's it for the news. And so it seems Nintendo was okay. Anyway, that's the news. After this short break, I will be back on with Amy-Lynn, Juno, and Nicole to talk all about the new Pokémon game, Legends Z-A, and it'll be mostly spoiler-free, as I said earlier. Hi, True Avatars. We're back from the break. We had some technical issues, so there is no video feed for this version. So there's still going to be a video version on YouTube, obviously, if you're listening, but it'll just be, unless Nicole's Jimmy-rigged solution works out somehow, it'll just be avatars on screen with us talking. It's just the best solution we could have on short notice. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Pokémon Legends Z-A, or Z-A if you're Canadian or British, and I think the Japanese also say Z-O-A. But for some reason, the Pokemon Company has held a gun to streamers' heads and said, that if you don't say ZA, we will, not acknowledge you. So, I'm scared of the Pikachu's, automatic rifle. Anyway, just to, give some brief, housekeeping here, we will be talking about Legends Z-A. We will be talking some minor spoilers for the beginning of the game. We will be talking up to the battle with Vinny after Mega Evolution is unlocked. So obviously that's a slight spoiler to know that happens. But I will not explain the circumstances around that till a bit later. So if you haven't played that far and you don't want spoilers, hop out now, come back later. But we won't be talking about anything past that because I haven't played past that actually. I don't know about anyone else in the chat as well. And I will introduce my guests just very shortly. But also, before my guests are introduced, I want to bring up that there may or may not have been some major data mines and leaks. And we will not be talking about that today or ever because it cannot be verified. Plans might change. Also, again, I'm scared of Pikachu and his automatic rifle. So, anyway, we won't be talking about any of that stuff. However, I am joined by 3 guests today. So, first up, we have Amy-Lynn, a transgender lesbian, pronouns she, her. Amy-Lynn, how are you?
I'm not bad, thanks.
Amazing. Also joined by Juno, who was previously on the Ghost of Yote podcast episode 54. You should go back and check that out if you haven't before. Juno is a trans woman, pronoun she, her. How are you, Juno?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. Also happy to have Amy-Lynn. I know I didn't say that before, but obviously Amy-Lynn is like, at this point, she's always here. Obviously, we're happy to have her here. Got to butter up the newer guests, you know? And also, we have as well, Nicole is back. Nicole is a bisexual woman. Nicole also designed the logo and the background you're seeing in the video version. Nicole's pronouns are she, her. Nicole, welcome back. How are you?
Glad to be back. Happy to talk about Pokemon. And it's been a week, but I'm looking forward to this conversation.
I was really happy when they announced the game was coming out in October, and then October this week ended up being one of the busiest weeks ever for a lot of us, and I'm just like, why couldn't it have been Black Friday? Anyway, I'm happy to have the game earlier. Okay. I don't have any show notes for this. I thought we would just kind of fly by the seat of our pants in terms of discussions. The only note I actually do have is I want to get the queer elephant and address the queer elephant in the room. So there is actually some queerness to the game. We're not going to be talking about a lot of it because I feel like most of us here picked the girl and we just dressed as the girl and we just like dealt with it. But this game is the first ever Pokemon game where you can, there's non-gendered clothing, or all clothing basically, not to say that there's non-gendered clothing. All clothing is applicable to all genders, haircuts, clothing, everything. If you play as a boy, you can wear miniskirts. If you play as a girl, you can wear pants. I don't know. All the clothes for the girl is like normal, like it's like women wear everything anyway, but men generally don't wear miniskirts. So if you want to be a femboy, totally cool. You can now do that. You want to wear crop tops, you can do that. In fact, it's pretty much the only way you can be non-binary because there's still no they-them character option, unfortunately. No non-binary option, no gender-neutral option. They didn't even give you, like, an unknown gender option. Pokemon get one, but you don't. So
maybe eventually they'll have a non-binary, like, rival/friend character. Because, like, if you pick the boy, then do they give you the girl? Or no?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, okay.
Don't really talk about mods and too much, but someone has modded the game somehow and made it so, someone said, someone wrote God has listened on Twitter and found a mod that where if you pick the girl, character, you can actually have the girl rival, whose name is Tawny, I think. And to be honest, everything that the rival does is really funny because, like, the rival is very forward. They're like, oh, I'm gonna, like, show you around the city and also put my contact information in your phone. They're very forward. And for the girl, it's like kind of sexy, but for the boy, it's very forward and gross. I'm like, Urbane, can you chill, please? You're really annoying.
Also, you're really nice. Like,
be in my video now, please. Did anyone here pick the boy character and dress as the girl and brave the he him pronouns so that you could have the lesbian relationship with the girl rival?
I will say there was part of me that kind of was thinking about it because it was always kind of tradition for me to pick the boy character growing up, and I would always give my character the same name. And so when I go back to like reset the game, or I would know the Pokemon that I transferred over, if they had that name as the owner, then I would know that was from my original playthrough of that game. Unfortunately, I didn't do that. I just went as Juno for the save, but I believe this was the first time I did that, even with Sword and Shield, when I was out at the time. When that game came out.
Interesting. So no one, sorry, Amy-Lynn, I don't have a video feed for you. I'm assuming you're probably nodding and saying I did not brave whether the he-him lesbian relationship.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's fair. I briefly considered it, but also they don't just he-him you. They're like, Zoey, my girl, or like, they'd be like, Zoey, it'd be like picking, when you choose your name in Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, they don't tell you what the gender of your character is. They're just like, what's your name? And I'm like, well, it's Zoey, obviously. And they're like, Zoey, my boy. And I'm like, let me just, anyway. So I don't think I could handle that in Pokemon. I think it would make me cry. Yeah. But someone did tweet, someone wrote, there's lesbian relationships in this game for those who are willing to weather the he-him storm or something like that. So I did steal that phrase from Twitter, whoever wrote that, but then there was the God Has Listened tweet. Anyway, Pokemon Twitter is just going, like, wild with all the memes with, like, the gender-neutral stuff and, like, the gay stuff. There also is I don't know if it's intentional, but I want to believe there's one trans woman working at Game Freak who put this in as a reference. But there is, at the beginning of the game, have you guys met the Fist of Justice yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's the really tall karate dude who might be related to Zissou from Legends Arceus. But anyway, they're like really tall. He's really, really tall. I don't remember his name. But he's got like 4 women, like all these karate girls that are white belts beside him. And my first thought was like, oh, women can be karate stars in this version of Kalos. And I'm thinking like, are they all trans women? My headcanon is he's got a harem of trans women with him. Is anyone else headcanoning this, or is it just me?
It didn't cross my mind, but now I'll forever think that.
I had that initial meet with that character, but I didn't really think of it. Now that you say that, in the future when I do see them, I will definitely think about that.
So the other thing too is that, what I should say for context for anyone listening who doesn't know, Pokemon X and Y are very famous for having the one like explicit trans feminine. I think there's other trans feminine characters. I think the Ghost Gym leader Fantina is trans woman as well, but that's because I think she's clocky. But in X and Y, there's like one character who like you can meet her if you do like 250,000 battles in the Battle Maison or whatever it's called. And she'll say, less than a year ago, I was a black belt. Quite the transformation, wouldn't you say? And you're like, okay, like, she's a beauty class, by the way. And so you're like, oh, why are you, like, what do you mean transformation? Like, you don't wear, like, a gi anymore. It's called a gi, right? You don't wear a gi anymore. But then you realize the black belt trainer class in X and Y, not Legends X and Y, in X and Y on the 3DS, are only men. So she's transgender, like canonically transgender based on trainer classes. So if there's karate women in this game, my headcanon is that they are also like, even though that class exists now, I'm pretending they're all trans women.
Well, feminism's come a long way in 5 years.
It's true. And yeah, so I think, it's canonically 5 years after X and Y, the game. Yeah. So I didn't actually. What's the evidence for that, Amy-Lynn? Because I actually didn't come. I know I've seen it on Twitter, but like I want to hear it from you. But also, yeah.
I think that there are some NPCs who will just say like, "Oh, 5 years ago there was, the chaos or whatever, the almost super beam that happened. Or I guess the actual super beam, but almost the destruction."
Right.
So they reference those events and say 5 years.
Okay, that seems like not a lot of time. I know there's a lot of other stuff about like where the timeline is falling, especially like, so apparently Leon has also been defeated in this timeline. I saw that. Someone's like, oh, there's unbeatable champions, but even like no one's unbeatable because even the unbeatable Leon got defeated or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
And I think there's another reference that implies that like Galar was like Sword and Shield were 2 years before. So like people have figured out that like what the timeline is, so that like Alola, it's like, and it gets really funky too because we know for a fact Sun and Moon, not Sword and Shield. I almost said Sun and Swoon. Sun and Moon are 2 years or 20 years after Red and Blue, because I think it's canonically true that like Blue and Red are like actually 30 years old now or something like that, and they're wearing anyway. I don't know what I think they say something when you meet them at the battle tree. Yeah, the Pokemon timeline is getting messy, but I hope the trans woman, wherever she is still in the beauty class, and she hasn't been detransitioned by Pokemon Trump. That is to say, what's that Pokemon called?
Gumshoes?
Gumshoes, thank you. They thought they cooked with a Pokemon that looks like a looker, but he actually looks like Donald Trump.
I thought you were going to reference Clay as far as, like, the most Republican-coded Pokemon character.
I bet he's also in Gen 4 along with Fantina. I bet they don't like each other very much.
I mean, I don't want to stereotype all rich Texans, business people, but, he's pretty much the closest thing we're going to get to an oil tycoon.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past Game Freak. I mean, I think the Pokemon, not the Pokemon Company, but Nintendo, which owns part of the Pokemon Company, is now 6 to 7% owned by Saudi Arabia, so you never know. There could be an oil tycoon. So actually that's pretty much all the queerness about the game, though. I haven't discovered anything else for the most part. I know that right-wing Twitter is also going after the fact that someone tweeted, that there's like, they're like, oh, Pokemon has gone woke. There is unknown genders now, but there's been unknown genders since Gold and Silver. The second they introduced genders, Magnemite had an unknown gender. And I know in the localization they call it genderless, but in Japan it's called unknown gender. And as far as I'm concerned, that like there are Pokemon who haven't gotten evolutions that make sense to get them. Like for example, Bisharp and King Gambit, for example. They have a whole chess theme in the localized version, but in Japan they have nothing to do with chess at all. They're just royal. They're just like military related. So as far as I'm concerned, if it's not canon in the Japanese version, it's not canon at all.
Well, that's like famously how we got Mr. Mime, right?
Yeah.
And then they, again, similar with King Gambit, they kind of rolled with that with Mr. Rhyme, or whatever the evolution Charlie Chaplin one is, where it is clearly Mr. coded versus, you know, Mr. Mime or Barrier in Japanese is just a weird thing.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Rhyme. I think Mr. Mime as a tap dancer is fun, like as a regional variant, but I don't know why he needed an evolution. And it's funny too because, sorry to cut someone off here, but the Nobu Gasawara, who actually follows me on Blue Sky, is really cool. I don't know why he followed me. Maybe he's, I don't know, anyway. When he was localizing, because he was the only localizer on Red and Blue, but he wasn't localizing the Pokemon names. He was just kind of like helping with that, but he was doing all the text. And he got the list of Pokemon names from the name team at Nintendo, and he was like, you can't call this Pokemon Mr. Rhyme. They're definitely going to do genders in the next iteration. You can't call him that. You need to pick a different name. They're like, no, we're going to do this anyway. Sure enough, they F themselves. So, thank you, Nob, for trying. We appreciate it. Nintendo failed you. Anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the queerness. How are you guys liking the game? Let's just talk about the game. Do you like it? Do you like the new battle system? Let's talk about the new battle system. So that's the biggest thing, is like it's now real-time combat. You are not playing as the Pokemon, but you are now like the buttons are now moves instead of like picking from a menu. Amy-Lynn, you start.
I have always loved the, in the first few Pokemon movies, aside from 5, I believe, the movies generally start off with like a Pokemon battle where the theme song of the generation plays, and whether it's Japanese or US theme song, it's a really cool moment. And the battle system in this game is the closest thing to those moments. Like I think about, I think it's the third movie where Pikachu tries to Thunderbolt a Quagsire, and, every fan is like, oh, that silly Ash.
I made that mistake 200 times in my playthrough, just saying.
This game is the closest we've gotten to replicating that scene, which is really cool. Because, like, in that scene, like, Pikachu is battling Quagsire like at a playground. And this game, it's not quite a playground, but, you're battling in public parks. You're battling on a bridge. You're battling on a rooftop. And you're, like, I do think it's weird that the trainer is, like, kind of engaged and walking around. Like, if Pokemon were real, I'd be keeping a distance, because I don't want to be, hyper beamed. But,
they will hyper beam you in this game.
Which, trying to catch the giant Staryu, I got destroyed several times until I was high enough level, specifically by the ice beam.
Has anyone found a giant Whirlipede yet? Because that was horrifying. It just rolled at me and I was like, I'm out. And then there was like a Fletchinder too that came after me, and I was like, it followed me outside of the wild zone. It was terrifying. It was like hopping at me with these big red eyes, and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna murder me.
The Whirlipede entertained me because, like, the idea of having just the giant Solipede it's very fun. Like, it is an awkward creature, just having walk around a city, like just this centipede camel moose thing. Like, I was gonna say horse. It seems bigger than a horse. But yeah, that's fun. But yeah, battle system I do really enjoy. I think it's a nice compromise. For me, it's going to be weird going back to turn-based. I don't 100%. Look forward to that. There has been several times in this game where I've been sad it's not Gen 10. And I know that there are many competitive Pokemon players out there who would find that sacrilegious, or sacrilegious, but...
That's what Champions is for.
Yeah, I like that approach. But for me, like, I'm like, I wish this was the core game. Like, I like it a lot.
Nicole.
For the first time ever, I lost the first battle, and I was like, what? I was like, it's supposed to be easy. We're just supposed to be like tackle, tail whip, growl, whatever, right? But no, I failed Chikorita, but Urbane was just like, that's okay, try again.
Did you have to redo the battle?
I did, yeah, because I kept trying to dodge, because I was like, Chikorita, get out of the way. But it wasn't, like, she wasn't fast enough. And I guess, yeah, like...
Wait, go back. Did you get a girl Chikorita?
I think I did, actually.
Oh,
I
got a girl Charmander.
Yeah, nice.
Named her Mango. Anyway, sorry, keep going. I just wanted to, I really wanted a girl Chikorita, but they make it really hard to soft reset in this game because autosave is on by default. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yes,
continue.
We'll go back to that. But yeah, like, couldn't believe it. Like, I was trying to dodge, but like, you don't actually control the Pokemon itself. It's like you're walking around and then your Pokemon like kind of follows you after a bit, right? And then I saw that like when you choose the attack, like sometimes it like lets you, I don't know if you get to pick or if it kind of decides for you, but it chooses a spot, your Pokemon goes to that spot and then it launches the attack. So I don't really know how to like try to control where it goes to dodge more. Maybe I'll figure it out later, but maybe you guys have figured it out?
Nope.
But yeah.
I mean, I get how it works, like, vaguely, because in order to keep some degree of the turn-based mechanic, the attack will launch, and then if you are, I guess, savvy enough to sort of release the lock-on, your Pokemon will sort of magnet towards you a little bit. So it's that balance of if you're locking on, your Pokemon is aiming at the opponent. If you undo the lock on, they follow you. So there is some degree of tactics that you can employ there as far as the aiming goes.
Yeah, I guess it was a skill issue for me. But I did find that like, yeah, it was challenging. And since I only started playing like combat games within like the last couple of years or so, like Breath of the Wild and like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I feel like it was like, it prepared me for this moment a bit. So it wasn't as, I feel like if I just came from turn-based Pokemon straight to this without any other combat game experience, I would like have failed.
Juno's pointing at herself right now.
Yes, yeah, I have very little experience with real-time combat or strategy games. I guess that's the term. Speaking about like trying to maneuver your Pokemon in battle, I was really surprised and interested in how they change moves like U-turn and Volt Switch or something, where in a regular Pokemon game you would swap out a Pokemon, but in this real-time strategy, it returns right beside you. So you could be across, like, far away from the enemy, use that move, and then your Pokemon will attack, and then it'll suddenly appear right beside you. So I found myself using, I believe, U-turn a lot, and I don't really use those moves a lot for regular Pokemon games, but I found it really helpful in the real-time strategy aspect of this.
Wow.
And
I love that. Yeah. Like you could use that to quickly dodge an attack.
Yeah.
Has anyone called a Pokemon back to like dodge an attack, but then send your next Pokemon back out, takes the brunt of the attack? Like it just gets on the ball and immediately gets blinded.
That's what people do in the anime.
There's also a lot of times where I've gotten that sweet spot where I withdrew a Pokemon, the opponent attacks, misses, and then I send out a Pokemon after that, and I felt the few times that I saw that happen that it was really satisfying.
Yeah, timing matters a lot more.
Well, it's cool because, like, unlike Pokemon Go, the complete immunity is still in effect here. So you can, like, switch out to, you know, a like Ghost type for a normal attack, and it will not, you know, hit at all. So they've kept things that other games that, you know, are adapting the Pokemon battle system, you know, like Go have, you know, removed to make it not, impossible.
The one thing I really had a problem with the combat was because on the opponent Pokemon, it'll have like the name of the move that they're about to use. But from the time that information pops up to when they actually use it is so fast that I can't look at the Pokemon in my party and quickly switch Pokemon to benefit that. Another thing is I realized I believe they don't have abilities in this game. So using Earthquake or a ground type move on Ghastly is just weird to me.
It works. I haven't tried that yet. Oh my gosh.
Because it should be super effective then because it's a poison type. So
yeah.
I know some Pokemon have abilities programmed in, so like things are still like true. Like for example, I don't have an example for Zeyay, but for Legends Arceus, for example, Regigigas still had slow start. It was just like it didn't have an ability. It was just like when you started the battle, it like a message popped up saying like it had slow start, or like whatever the message comes up with slow start was like appearing, and then it still acted as if it had that ability throughout the battle. So I can't speak for Ghastly, but I know for some, like for example, there is one Pokemon, I can't remember which Pokemon it is and which podcast I was listening to that talked about this, but there is a Pokemon that has its ability, like it has an ability programmed in, like it's a new Mega, but it has its ability from its base form coded in, so it has the stat boost from that ability, it just doesn't have the ability, so they just gave it 40 extra base points instead, and it's like attack or special attack or something like that. So I know that like when an ability is critical to a Pokemon's design, they still find a way to program it in without making it an official ability.
May I ask, how many times have you been in battle and you fell off the building roof that you've been on? Because I have unfortunately done that many times, whether it was me trying to roll out of the way of an attack or me just forgetting that I'm on a rooftop. And unfortunately, thankfully the ladder to get back up top was somewhat close by, but by the time I got up there, the Pokemon had like it
going off the building and climbing back up the ladder resets the spawns up top.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, are they still battling up there without you?
And now, has anyone been in the middle of a battle with the Alpha Whirlipede, almost defeated it, and then had the time of day change to night, and then reset, and then have your last Pokemon knocked out as soon as the battle restarts because your Pokemon's health didn't reset, but Whirlipede's did.
That
literally happened to me 3 time changes in a row. So
I'm so sorry.
Like I
just threw a netball at it.
Screaming at the fact that like you'll get the notifications about like the dawn is approaching or sunset, and it's like, yeah, okay, but there's no like timer counting down to that. So it's like the moment I see, oh, it's about to be dawn, then it's like, okay, I'm not going to get into any big battles. I'm just going to wait.
Days and nights are too short.
Moon.
Yeah. Actually, so Zelda has a longer day-night cycle, actually. I know why they do that, too. It's the Blood Moon is for the same reason. It's to reset the RAM? Like, the cache of data in your RAM or whatever. Because I can't remember everything you've done on the map. But, like, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I think that the day-night cycle, each day and night, they both need to be about 10 to 15 minutes longer each.
I would agree.
Because, like, just as you're getting into the day, like, I feel like as soon as the day starts, it's like suddenly like you see the afternoon shadow happening, and I'm like, all I did was walk to the store to buy another t-shirt. That's all I did. And now you're telling me the day's almost over.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I haven't had a lot of those kind of problems with wild Pokemon battles, but I did get into a trainer battle that I had to jump off a roof to end because I was on a rooftop and the opponent spotted me because it was in the Zeyay Royale thing, but they spotted me and their Phantomp was like stuck behind like a chimney or like a part of the roof, and it couldn't attack my Pokemon on the roof that I was at. So our Pokemon just kept firing attacks that couldn't reach each other. So, and because it was in a battle, like there was no timer or anything. So thankfully I was just, okay, I'm going to just jump off this roof, and it just cut the battle. But yeah, that was a little bit scary until I realized I had a roof I could jump off of.
The idea of eating yourself to get out of a battle you just don't want to be in, too, is so funny.
Yeah, it's like, just let it end.
I feel like we should say that if you do fall from a high place, your Rotom cell phone Pokedex does catch you.
Oh my god, I saw one tweet that said, like, the lawsuit for the first time that Rotom phone fails to catch you is going to be legendary or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like you fall and then it slips out of your hand or something.
Yeah, you let go.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does Rotom know you're gonna grab it? Like, I don't know. It should be like strapped to your waist at all times.
Oh, can we talk about things? Speaking of things strapped to your waist, the backpacks in Pokemon keep getting smaller, especially for women in Pokemon games. But now the satchel is like, it's the size of a wallet that's attached to your belt. It's so, there's no video version. Probably no video version. We might be able to, anyway, if there's no video version, like, it's very small. If you haven't played the game, it's so tiny. And you're supposed to store TMs, Pokeballs, potions, key items, everything. And it's a tiny little... And there's no dude that's like, let me help you store more stuff. There's no... What is his name?
Baggin.
There's no bagging in this game. You can just store as much as you like. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like the size of like a Walkman, if everyone knows what that is. A CD, a DVD.
Yeah, it's like the size of a DVD. It's the size of a DVD, but with a bit more thickness. Imagine like a stack of 10 DVDs attached to your belt. That's how much space you have for storage.
See, I'm really surprised because of all of the clothing customization that you can do in this game, there's no, like, I was expecting maybe you could get like a big hiker's backpack or something like that. Like, I'm just thinking back to X and Y and their bag options. Like, they had a lot of options for satchels and stuff. And to just have this little thing on your waist now I was kind of disappointed.
I imagine the sort of baby's first platforming that they've made as part of this game, like all the scaffolding.
God. Yeah.
I think that is probably the reason for the small satchel limitation, as well as the reason why we're restricted to skirts and not skirts, and why there's no full dresses. There are really long coats, so I'm not sure how much that argument holds up, but I would imagine that there's some, like, you know, mobility animation related reason for at least some of these things.
That makes sense.
I mean, they could just have it like clip through the floor, but it wouldn't look as nice, yeah.
So do we, besides the few limitations of clothing customization, and there are a few, obviously, but like, there's a few limitations to the hairstyles. Like, I can't get exactly my hairstyle. I can't get no bangs. Like, there's not a no bangs option as far as I could tell. But I actually look like me in the game, and I can wear the kind of clothes I wear in real life. So I just look like me running around the Pokemon world. Finally, for the first time ever, this is like the most detailed it's ever been. Like, and from the outset, aside from a few things, you can actually, there's an actual character customization thing at the start. Like, you pick the default template for hair, but as soon as you get in there, you can change everything except skin color, I think. How are we feeling about that? Were we happy? Do you look like yourself in the game, or did you? I know, Amy-Lynn, you sent a screenshot and you look like you.
I'm like beyond delighted. Like, aside from the fact that, like, I think my hair length is closer to yours, Zoey, than mine. Like, that's, I guess, the one restriction as far as like black hairstyles. It's like, here's a one braided ponytail. And that's it. Actually, no, there's short hair as well. But like, in order to get curly hair, you need to get it super long. But like, that's minor considering the limitations that there's been in past Pokemon games. Not even, as you said, at the beginning of the game, the customization options are already better than Pokemon has given us, like eyebrow color, like iris color, skin tone, eye shape. If you go into the options afterwards, you can add lipstick right away. Beauty spots. Like, they do a pretty good job. It's not extensive,
it's not cyberpunk
but it's
level.
Yeah, but it's pretty good.
It's more than Baby's first character creator, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I'd say it's more than Animal Crossing. Like, Animal Crossing does have, like, hundreds, thousands of, like, outfits in total. But, you know, for a realistically proportioned human, there are so many options. A lot of them are super expensive, but like Black Mary Janes are like $100,000. Like, I don't understand what's going on there, but it's great. Like, I'm very impressed and satisfied with that.
I'm also impressed with the customizations of just random NPCs that you see on the street. Like, there's a lot of people I see where it's like, where'd you get that outfit? I want that.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that I was impressed to see that you could customize the hairstyles so much, like even the bangs and then the rest of the haircut can be like mixed and matched. And so like you could have a haircut that looks like Urbane. Like I could see like, oh, you picked this. I picked the same bangs as him, but like a short haircut. And the color options also, like the color blocking versus the balayage, like the gradient. You can choose like 2 colors for your hair, which is pretty cool.
You can pick 3
and
actually.
Especially, yeah, once you unlock the Flabébé quest, or once you complete it, you unlock not so many more colors. You unlock, I think, 3 more colors and like so many more options for that color mixing, which is really cool. That's how I got the relatively accurate hair color for mine.
Yeah.
So said we were going to come back to this earlier, so I just want to follow up on this. Because I was actually going to go off on a tangent about how I think there's actually AI in this game. I can't prove it, but I think there's AI. But I want to go back first before we talk about that theory to actually talk about, and I mean generative AI, by the way, not like AI upscaling or whatever the Switch 2 uses. But anyway, let's go back and Nicole, you said you want to come back to the auto saves.
Yes, I was looking for a manual save option because obviously, like, that's a big part of Pokemon. Like, you want to save right before a big thing, or if something doesn't turn out the way you want to be able to revert back to an old save. But I didn't see any option for that. So did you find one?
So you can manually save. If you go to the menu and press R, as you can in previous games, you can manually save. And for the most part, it doesn't affect shiny hunting, because the way shiny hunting works is that as soon as the shiny spawns, it's there. And it's there until you catch it. It's for the most part. Like, I think there's some limitations to that as well, but if you want that shiny, you'd have to go out of your way to make it despawn. However, yeah, there is no option in the settings to turn off auto-saving like there was before. I don't know why they keep removing customizable options. Like, the first big issue fans had with customization is that when they first added the EXP share as a default being turned on, people were like, why can't you just make it a toggle to turn it off if you don't want it? I think you should be able to turn it off because I am over-leveled already and I don't like it. I think the game is moving too fast, but this is something that Game Freak does, is where they're like, here's a feature that is like quality of life, but we're not giving you the option to turn it off. Which is weird to me. It's probably a game design thing, where it's a programming thing, where it's like we either have it or we don't. But now that they've actually taken away the option that they've had in previous games, it seems strange to me that I don't think this is a programming level thing. I think this is just like, this is how we want our game to be now, and you're going to play it the way we want you to. Just like every Nintendo game ever. It's like, we want you to play this the way we want you to play it for as long as we want you to play it, and then we want you to move on like the drones you are to the next thing. So, has anyone had any issues with the audio save? Sorry, autosave, sorry. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. I'm also cutting people off.
I have a comment, but not about the autosaves, if anyone else wants to chime in about that.
This is, I guess, sort of connected to the autosaves only in so much as the shiny Pokemon aspect. I have a shiny Fletchling that I cannot access currently. Because it was on top of a radio tower, and I figured out that the teleporting lift doesn't get unlocked until later on in the game. Because I just like, what's up with this holo lift or whatever they call it. So now I have to avoid a particular Pokemon Center because this Fletchling flies away if you get too close. Because I heard the shiny sound and it was like in the middle of the street. So I'm like, where is it? I look up and I see the Fletchling fly away and despawn. So I'm like, okay, I'll walk in the other direction. And I can get to another roof and I can like look at it and take a picture of it from a distance. But until I progress through the game, I have to avoid this certain intersection of the street. Otherwise, this shiny will go away. So, I mean, that's better than... I mean, this is the third shiny in I'll call it mainline Pokemon game, I'll count it as one, that I've ever found in, 30 years of playing. So I'd like to catch it, but we'll see.
Yeah, hope it stays there for you, waiting.
I'm not 100% sure about this. Do not take this as gospel, especially anyone watching or listening wants to know how this works. But I think that shiny will stay there until you reset. Like, I don't think there's any way to reset that shiny. I think that shiny is, like, there.
If Pokemon teleport or run away, I've heard that they're gone. Okay, maybe that's true then. I just know that, like, yeah, I guess if you don't get it to teleport away, I think it will be there forever. So I guess what you're doing exactly. Avoiding that spot is, like, the best way to do it. Yeah.
Can we talk about the behaviors of the wild Pokemon before we talk about your AI?
Juno was just going to say one other thing, and then we'll move on to the behaviors.
Right. Going back to the EXP share and how it seems to always be on, I found that, like, for the other mainline Pokemon games, I absolutely hate this. I think it started in Sun and Moon. I could be wrong. But I found for both Arceus and Zeyay, I don't use the same 6 Pokemon throughout the entire game. I cycle them in and out. Especially in Arceus when you got challenges to, like, evolve 10 Mudkips, or Mudkip wasn't in that game. But yeah, so I found that, say, like, if I'm going up against an alpha Pokemon and it's 4 times weak to water types, but all my water types are so underleveled, I find that the automatic EXP share helps level up Pokemon that I wouldn't normally have, but it just helps, like, oh yeah, I need 6 water type Pokemons. Okay, well then let's train them up a little bit, and now I'm fully capable of going into this fight. So of course, I understand, and I am one of the people to complain about the EXP share, but at least in the 2 Legends games, I've had no problem with it.
Yeah, my only issue... So I like that... That's why I would like to be able to turn it on and off as you please, because I think, yeah, if a Pokemon is underleveled, that's great. But my issue is that, like, I got to spend, like, 20 minutes with my Chikorita before it was a Bayleaf. And I'm like, when you in the original games, like, I still think they evolve too low a level. Like, I think mid-teens is too low for a starter to evolve. I think they should wait till the 20s. And then the 40s... Just because, like, I want to spend more time with each stage. I want to make it feel like I'm bonding the way Ash would with his Pokemon in the show, for example. But, so, like, my Chikorita evolved so fast. Like, I didn't get to spend any time with it. And I just want to, like, bond with it more. So
at least you can choose when they evolve.
That's true.
Yeah.
But then you might miss out on certain attacks if you don't evolve it right away. And in fact, I didn't even notice that it was ready to evolve because I looked and I was like, oh, it's level 17 now. And I'm like, oh, I can evolve it. Or maybe it was level 18, and I was like, oh, and I might have missed a move, actually, by not evolving it at the right time, either.
I think it gets saved. Like, once it evolves, it'll have all the moves, like, and you just have to choose. Okay.
I know in previous games, the level up moves are different depending on when you pick the move to evolve and all that. But anyway, or the move to level up. But anyway, so Nicole, you also said you wanted to talk about the behaviors of the Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. That was like another big part of it, I think the open world aspect. And yeah, first of all, there's the wild zones that we all know that's where most of the wild Pokemon are. And when you go in, then you start seeing them around every corner. But they're also like outside of the wild zones, like the Fletchinders, like they're not just background elements. Like when you get close enough, you can see like they're targetable and you can like throw a Pokeball at them. And I haven't seen any other like just roaming Pokemon yet, but I'm very excited.
I've seen a few. So there's one tree that has a Kakuna just pinned on it. He's just chilling there.
Yeah.
And there's a Weedle above him. And then if you go down an alleyway and find trash cans, you'll find a Trubbish. And I was searching for so long to find a Trubbish. It's so cute. When the First off, yes, I like the behaviors of the Pokemon, but my favorite thing is when they follow you around and which ones... First off, Kakuna hops. It's kind of a little weird, but whatever. At least it moves. It's not like dragging along or just like standing behind, like looking at you like it's like with the puppy dog eyes. But when I like the Trubbish follow me, like it's so cute. Like it's just... And I like too when your character's near your Pokemon, like your character by default is looking at them, which is definitely what I would be doing. I'd be like, I don't want to look at the world. I want to look at my cute pet.
Yes.
So
It reminds me of how they did Link in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like he's always looking at whatever's like nearby. That's just makes it feel more alive.
it's the best looking Pokemon game. Like, I don't mean like I mean just like it looks like. It almost feels like they took away a lot of features that they would have done in other Pokemon games to make the visuals and the way like everything kind of like the way everything feels, the way it looks is what and I don't mean graphically speaking. Like, yeah, the performance is great. Like, that's not my point here. It's just like the details they've put into like the way the character is and interacts with the world. Just the fact that you can have all this customization. Like, it feels like this is the most love and care they've put into it, to the point where I think they actually like sidelined other things they normally do for the game to get these things looking as good as it does, like getting the Pokemon to like animate really well and like to have personality. The
overworld Pokemon have really come a long way since like the Wild Zones in like Sword and Shield, right, where they just literally just walking around, but they really customize the behaviors of each species of Pokemon. So like certain Pokemon they did this in Legends Arceus too, but like some Pokemon are more timid, some are more aggressive and will attack you. Like, I'm looking at you, Paris.
Has anyone found a Paris equivalent yet? And not Paris, the city, obviously, that the game is based on. We mean the Pokemon Paris. No, has anyone found a Pokemon like that?
Houndour, not quite as annoying as Paris, but definitely they will chase you for a very long time. Versus the opposite, like Bellsprout kind of just looks up at you, which is very cute, and does that following thing.
I caught an alpha Bellsprout and immediately evolved it up to a Victory Bell, and I evolved it in the professor's lab, and it's massive. it like touches the ceiling. For some reason it floats too, which is why it touches this, but it's massive. And I know that Mega Victory Bell, which I don't have yet, is much bigger than Victory Bell. I'm very excited for my my massive alpha Mega Victory Bell.
Bag of poison.
Yeah.
I do want to just make a note of the technical side of the game. I'm playing on Switch 1. I'm not sure about you all. Yeah.
When Amy-Lynn, you're playing on Switch 2 like me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at the very start of the game, when you get off the train to get to the city, there was a flying Pokemon in the train station. I forget which one it was. But the flying animation was really kind of like a slow FPS. And immediately, because that's 2 minutes into the game, it had me worried about like a Legends Arceus kind of graphical issue. But that was honestly the only thing that I had problems with on Switch 1. There may be some things that I didn't catch, but I'm really impressed with how it's running on my Switch. I've had no crashing issues. I know that was a huge thing with Arceus. How did you find it, Nicole, on Switch 1?
Yeah, so far so good. I have the OLED version, Zoey's old one. So I think the performance is about the same, right? Like, I didn't notice any glaring issues. I think I missed whatever flying Pokemon that was at the train station. But yeah, so far it's been a very smooth experience.
I have a day one Switch one, so like it's the oldest system. So I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to cut you both off, but this has come up a couple times now. I want to talk about the flying Pokemon. So anyone who's played Pokemon since X and Y will remember that X and Y had Sky Battles. Sky Battles are not in Legends Z-A, unfortunately. I think they're a really cool feature. But because of that Sky Battle mechanic, all the flying Pokemon in X and Y were animated as if they were gliding. So they were up in the air. They weren't flapping their wings, they were gliding. And so Game Freak, either cheap, no time, lazy, what have you, until very recently, those flying animations were never replaced with flapping or just the Pokemon on the ground. So if you caught like Pidgeotto would just be like flying, like look like it's gliding, even though it's just hovering on the ground, not moving. Those animations have been fixed recently, but it was very cool to see the proper flying animation and like detailed flying animations in the Kalos region where this problem started in the first place.
Yeah, I think I noticed a Pidgeotto next to his trainer in the battle zone, but I think I was too low level at the time, so I didn't get closer.
Oh yeah, that's this is from the demo as well. People talked about the Pidgeotto. Apparently the Nintendo reps were supposed to tell you to go fight the Pidgeotto and you're supposed to get the floor wiped with you.
I think I know what you're talking about, but in one of the first battle areas, there was like a level 18. I think it was a Pidgeotto, and obviously I was like level 9 or something, and it's like, oh, jeez.
Yep.
So we are running short on time. I do want to go back to the generative AI thing because I think it's kind of relevant to like a queer podcast because we're very just like progressive and forward thinking. I can't prove this. Again, this is my theory. But there's a lot of, first off, the NPCs, and I'm not just talking about the ones that you can actually engage with and press A and talk to. I'm talking about the ones who are like standing on the street that like spawn and despawn, the people that are walking around with their Pokemon following them. They say a lot of really weird stuff, and I didn't archive all the ones I saw, but people are posting on Twitter, Blue Sky, social media about like all the funny things they're saying, and they're just like a little bit, they're all Pokemon relevant, but they're just a little weird. And I'm actually wondering, and to be honest, in the game, I think I've only seen the same bubble above someone's head twice. Like this, only one time did I see the same message pop up again. I see a lot of variety in the messages. And if there's one thing we know that Game Freak doesn't like to do, is make a lot of variety in a lot of things. So I'm either wondering, do they hire someone to sit there and just write the dialogue bubbles? Or I'm wondering if they input like a lot of Pokemon information into Chat GPT and had it spit out a whole bunch of different things that the trainers could say. Because there's like, I want to find the one example I do remember. I'm just going to pull out my phone here and look up, because I quote tweeted one on
that's
Twitter
the one
here.
that I saw.
Right. So that was the only one I can actually pull up because it's the one I have as a reference. But let me see here. Oh yeah, so someone says, go where you want, die where you must.
Whoa.
And it's just like, there's a lot of weird stuff where it's just like, almost like makes sense for someone to say in a game, but not a Pokemon game. And I'm wondering if they Gen AI'd a bunch of the dialogue bubbles, because this is something I would have to dig for the source on this, so it probably won't be in the show notes. But I know there's another company that was like, we're thinking about using generative AI to like generate, like the chat, but like to make it so when you talk to a character in a game and you want to say anything you want to say, they will reply to you as if you just, if they understood everything you said. Instead of just like picking from a list of like, here's what I want to say, here's what they could reply with. And so I'm wondering if Game Freak has just been like, well, it's just offhand dialogue. It's not like we're Gen AIing the Pokemon. So I'm wondering, like, I don't know, does it seem that way to anyone else?
From what I read of that thread, it is a translation of a French proverb. So, like, that weird one, it does have an apparent explanation.
Okay.
So I'm very paranoid about AI everywhere, but I haven't seen anything that completely, tips me off to that yet. But I'm sure that sort of thing is coming, unfortunately.
I found another one. Sorry, I'm looking through the thread just to see if anyone posted like examples as replies. Someone also wrote, if I'm upset, giving my partner's Pokeball a little squeeze helps.
I think that's just weird. I don't think that's AI. I think that's just like a weird thing. Like that's like, in Gen 1 or Gen 2, like, or whatever it was, like shorts, they're comfy and easy to wear. Like it's as weird as that, right? Like it's,
yeah. I guess there was the one where she's like, where do women store, there's like a woman in a bikini on the beach and she's like, where do I keep my Pokeballs? Woman's secret, tee. Literally word for word, pretty much what she says.
Yeah. And
I think the implication there was like, I guess it doesn't look like she's storing Pokeballs in her bra, so the other option is like, I'm not going to say it on the podcast. I don't want to, it's not an explicit podcast, but it's not in her bra. I'll just say that. Like, I think that was the implication of the joke of like, when they wrote that. But anyway.
It's in her hammer space.
It's where Aerith puts her white materia, just in her hair.
Anyway, yeah, so hopefully not Gen AI. And if it was, whether it's... So it's possible that these are like French proverbs translated to Japanese, localized into English, or Gen AI'd stuff, or Japanese... there's stuff that could be lost in translation too. I just think it's like, how did this get... I'm wondering how this stuff, if it's not Gen AI, how did it get past the English localization team?
Yeah, it seems very unlike Nintendo.
Yeah. Because they've changed stuff they've changed some of that weird stuff in remakes where they're like, oh, this was in Gen 2? Okay, we're not putting it in the Gen 4 remake or whatever. I think there was a couple lines in Gen 3 that were fixed in Gen, the ORAS remakes, like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Excuse me. I think also Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee changed a lot of dialogue as well. That was just like a little off, stuff that was just a little bit off. They fixed it.
And all the Pokedex entries that refer to animals.
That's true too, yeah. So like, the Indian elephant mentioned that Raichu can take down an Indian elephant in his Pokedex, and Red and Blue was changed in Gen 8 to a Copperajah, which is like a really cool detail in my opinion. But back in the early days, we know that Pokemon were supposed to live alongside animals, that they were a different kind of animal, and then eventually they made it so Pokemon are the animals of that world. So anyway, we do have to wrap up. Amy-Lynn, how's time for you?
Time, I got another 10 minutes or so at most.
Okay. All right. Well, let's build towards wrapping up. What we have 10 minutes left. What is free for all? What do you want to talk? What's something you wanted to say that I haven't prompted or we haven't gotten to?
I had a list, but I forget mine.
So I think one of the biggest controversies of this game is how silly Mega Starmie is.
Right.
Yeah. It's like I like the Pokedex entry. So like that I have read. I haven't gotten to where you can access Mega Starmie. But the Pokedex entry says that it tries to be more like a human or something like that, which, you know, I guess it cements Starmie as an alien. And it sort of, it references the more tokusatsu, like Starmie as the famous starfish, World War II German leader character from Kamen Rider. But, you know, it's very silly. I don't like it. It's possibly making me not want to use Starmie on my team, which sucks because I like Starmie in general. I'm disappointed that means we'll never get a Starmie evolution. But I don't know. I think it's silly and fun. It's like, just because I don't like it doesn't mean I don't think it's, you know, it has merit.
Well, I think part of the problem for me is that, like, with all these silly Pokemon designs they've had since Alolan Executor, like, went viral, everyone was like, we love this. They've kind of been leaning into that silliness, which I love, actually. I don't want them to stop. But I think with Starmie, I think they thought they cooked. And I don't think this is the silly... I think they went the wrong direction with silly because, like, sure, you're referencing a character, but also, like, I don't think it works for the design as much as they think it does.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, they're fulfilling the design philosophy that Starmie was originally based on, but I think in the last 30 years, maybe in Japan this is not true, but everywhere else in the world, no one thinks about that as Starmie's basis. Like, everyone just thinks, like, cool starfish with gem. And so all the fake Mega Evolutions people have designed over the years have been more like, well, let's make it look more like an actual starfish. Like, there's one that looks like a magical girl that has, like, ribbons that looks almost like Sylveon, but it's pink. And, like, that could have been an evolution or a Mega Evolution. And I know they look at fan designs now, and that's the only thing from the Terra League I'm going to mention, is that we know that there are designs they've scrapped because, oh, crap, a fan designed a Pokemon similar to that. Even though they have the rights to steal that design, because they just do, it's in, like... their brand, like, it's just the fact they own Pokemon. If you design a Pokemon, it belongs to them. But they won't acknowledge that because they don't want to deal with the backlash and stuff like that. So I think it's possible that because Starmie is one of those Pokemon people have always wanted, the only option they had was to give it legs.
Okay,
it just felt kind of lazy.
So, sorry, super quickly, for anyone who doesn't know what Mega Starmie looks like, this is a tiny spoiler, but it's okay because it's gone viral. It's literally Starmie, the exact design you know, but the two bottom star points are just long legs. Think Patrick in fishnets from the SpongeBob movie. Okay, sorry, I feel like Nicole and Juno, that's what you were both about to say, and I'm sorry.
No, like, I was listening to this entire thing. It's like, I don't know what Starmie looks like.
I'm looking at it right now.
Because I avoided all the few trailers leading up to it, and it's like, I didn't even know Starmie had a Mega Evolution, and now that you described it, I don't want to look it up. I want to just play the game and just experience it.
Yes.
There is one more thing about the game I'd like to mention. Sure. If we're good to move on. Comparing this to Arceus, I think the best thing about Legends Arceus was the throwing the ball mechanic, where you could aim up into the sky and throw a Pokeball, and you could see that thing go a long distance, and you can like just snipe, or like just hit a Pokemon and just catch it, and it feels so satisfying. That is not in this game, and I am really annoyed.
It's a disappointment.
For audiences, there is still a similar catching mechanic where you can throw the ball and aim it, but there's like, it locks on, the animation is very stilted and wooden, and there's no skill base for throwing. It's like, you can miss the ball, but for the most part, it's all like a technical error, not like hiding in the bushes and throwing the ball. Like that, the whole way, I can't explain it either, but the way it feels is not the same as it was in Arceus, and I think that is the game's biggest problem.
I did find that, like, if sometimes I would forget to press ZL to lock on, and you could still, like, manually aim it, and that felt kind of closer to what it was in Legends Arceus. But yeah, I wasted a lot of Pokeballs, like, just hitting obstacles. And then when we found the guy who, like, picks them up for you and gives them back to you, I thought that was kind of fun.
I hate that. I think you should just be able to pick them up after. But that's not really my problem. My problem is that I didn't realize where the Pichu was in Wild Zone 1. Because I realized I hadn't completed it. And I was like, where's Pichu?
Yeah.
And I looked up Pichu's habitat in the Pokedex. By the way, most Pokemon, if you've seen them but not caught them, they don't tell you where to find them. Most Pokemon. Pichu, for some reason, they tell you where he is. So I was like, where is he? I realized there's a part of the Wild Zone 1 that like isn't obvious. It's past a part of a fence where there's like a little lake. Like a tiny little, not even like a pond. And Pichu's on the other side of it. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to get to Pichu because I can't go in the water yet. So I was like, I'll just aim my Pokeball at it from afar. It doesn't matter. I hit Pichu. The Pokeball went right through him. And in Legends Arceus, I would have been able to, like Juno said, snipe that Pichu. And I don't like that they took that away, because I think that's half the reason people like Legends Arceus. People didn't like Legends Arceus for the dodging mechanic, which I still think is ridiculous, but I can deal with it. People like Legends Arceus because how real it felt to have to, like, to be near a Pokemon, and it felt so, like, and that's why people like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, even though it's a different catching mechanic. You can throw the Pokeball and aim it and hit it or miss or put a curve on it. People like the realism of, like, people want Pokemon to be real. This is my thinking. I want Pokemon to be real, and I think a lot of people agree with me. And this, having lunch with your Pokemon, petting your Pokemon, cleaning and bathing your Pokemon, throwing the Pokeball at your Pokemon, getting them to follow you, all this stuff that you would do with animals in real life, except throwing balls at don't throw balls at your dog. But
dogs love having balls thrown at them, though.
But I think what people really like about Pokemon is every step that gets us closer to realistic Pokemon. And Game Freak got really close with this game. I think closer than they've ever done before. Despite removing stuff like bathing your Pokemon and stuff like that. But, like, this game takes away the throwing, what made the throwing so good. Even though it's still in there, it's more like Scarlet and Violet than it is Legends Arceus. And I think that's my biggest problem with it. In fact, I played for the first 20 minutes or so when I got home after midnight lunch, and then I passed out. For the next day, I was actually, like, kind of angry. I was like, I really don't like that they took away the throwing, how good it felt. I actually didn't want to go back to the game for a bit. I was actually mad at Game Freak. I was like, you called it a Legends game, and then you took away the one thing we liked about the last Legends game. Anyway, but you brought back alphas for some reason, which make no sense. Because you explained the alphas are alphas because the wild is untamed, but now suddenly there's alphas in this city. Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, sorry. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Bring back the jet ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would solve Amy's problem with that shiny Pokemon.
Yeah.
Also crafting.
There is one thing, it's not a spoiler, but there is like a side mini quest. I was just wondering if any of you all did this. There's a museum in the city, and it's filled with Legends Arceus stuff. And I thought it was really cool to walk around it. Just a note for you all.
Okay. I'm not going to spoil what's in there because I've seen it go viral, but I think Amy-Lynn wanted to say something, and I think we'll start wrapping up.
I don't think anything in particular. I think just echoing a lot of what you were saying, I think that this game is a lot of 2 steps forward, 2 steps to the side, 2 steps diagonal. Like, it's a real shame that the throwing Pokeball thing is gone, because that was such a good feeling. But the walking around a city with the Pokemon, like, that feels better than it has in any other game. Like, the Pokemon have just enough. Yeah, and they have just enough animations, where it's like, with Ralts and Curlia, usually they're walking, but they'll sometimes float because they're psychic. Versus because Solipede is a giant centipede horse, he just clips through everything, like a real giant horse centipede would. So, yeah, and it's, the clothing, so many more options, but, it's, in some ways, it's still not as good as Sword and Shield, in specific ways. It's bizarre. The wild areas, like, I really wished you could put this city and then have Legends Arceus outside the city walls and do, Legends Arceus outside and then still have a city. You can go into more buildings, which is great. Like, there's 10% more buildings you can go into.
And 20% more menus.
Exactly. Like, it's weird. It's like, okay, good. There's some things you can go into. The Pokemon Center is kind of a half indoor, half outdoor thing. Like, they're still really afraid of letting us...
different ethnicities. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry, I just want to bring that up as well. That's the other woke thing in the game. Anyway, sorry, continue. What was I going to say? You still can't go into people's houses anymore. So that's something that's maybe been lost forever. Yeah. I mean, as much as I'm going to miss that, first off, it's a chore to go into every house and see what someone has to say and check their trash can. But also, to be honest, it's so unrealistic to just walk into someone's house. There's another game. There's a game called In Stars and Time. Ekami's talked about it before. When you go into someone's house, and you try to go further into their house, a dialogue box pops up saying like, oh, for some reason the custom in this town is you can only go into the first room of everyone's house, but not anywhere else. Such a weird custom, basically. And I like that it's like this self-referential thing where like, it doesn't make sense to just walk into someone's house, so I guess that's fine. But
isn't it like in Stardew Valley, like if you know them better, then you can go further into their house?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Amy-Lynn, just to kind of close off on that, it's a Game Freak game. I mean, it wouldn't be a Game Freak game if it wasn't one step forward, 800 steps back, and a few diagonally, Like, every time Game Freak adds a really cool new feature, I think Diamond and Pearl is the only time they brought back most of the features from Ruby and Sapphire, but when I was playing Gold and Silver, I thought for sure at the end of Hoenn, we were going to go back to Johto. Not Kanto, but I thought for sure. I was like, oh, okay, they didn't do it for Ruby and Sapphire. It's like Diamond and Pearl for sure, though, we're going to go from Sinnoh to Hoenn at the end. Like every other game, they're going to do this. Nope, it never came back again. I think also to button on what you said, like, I think it should have been the whole Kalos region. I know that's more work, but I think Lumiose, even though they made it significantly larger than X and Y, it is still tiny. You can traverse the whole city in like 8 seconds, and like, it's not even like they made it so like it's big, but like you unlock each piece of the pie each time. Like, it's clearly divided into. Okay, Amy-Lynn has to head out. Thank you for joining me, Amy-Lynn. I will do your whole following thing at the end for you. But we're wrapping up anyway. Just super quick is that I think it would have been a little bit better if like they made the city larger and then divided it into chunks. Also, I still haven't found the sewers. I don't think the roofs are that interesting to make it a much more vertical game. I think there's so much more they could have done, and it still feels like even though they had an extra year on this game to develop it. One other thing I'll mention when we know from the leaks is that this game was due out a year ago. So like, what were you doing in the game for the last year? It clearly just optimization because it runs really well, but not adding features. Anyway, does anyone have any super short final thoughts before we head out?
No, I think I'm got all my talking points out of the way.
All right, since everyone is... Sorry, and Nicole, it looked like you were probably going to say no. Sorry, I cut you off, though.
It's all good. I was just going to say, like, excited to play more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay, cool. Super fast, we're going to go Amy-Lynn, then Juno, then Nicole. Where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you? If Amy-Lynn is still here. Her video icon is still here.
She may be gone.
Okay.
I stopped recording me, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to stitch this in.
I'll be able to, don't worry, I got you.
You can follow me at Amethyst Lilac, one more Y than you think you'd need. Easiest way is just check who is following the True Avatar's social media feed.
Amazing. Juno, go.
I'm at just trying to think. Of
Oh
my
yeah,
socials
sorry,
now.
you don't want to share, right? You last time. You
No,
said
no,
you
that's
wanna
fine. I'm at that that trans NPC. I stuttered a bit, so I'll repeat. At that trans NPC. Instagram, Twitter. They're kind of private. So if you're following this podcast, then I may accept your follower request.
And also, there will be a link down in the show notes too if you didn't catch what she said. Nicole, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Nicole Tyngs, so NicoleTyngs. I'm really bad with posting, so but I do want to post more of my digital art and stuff. So that's where you find me.
And once again, Nicole did design a lot of the assets for the show, the logo and the video card backgrounds. Not to be confused with the desktop art, that key art that Lloyd did as well. Nicole didn't do that, Lloyd did that. But anyway, that is all the time we have. Thank you all of you. I think Amy-Lynn has actually left now, but thank you all for joining me. And I hope you enjoy playing more. Take care.
See you next time.
See ya.
And that just about wraps up this week's show. Thanks, True Avatars, for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. By listening to the show, you are supporting queer-made content, which is more important than ever. If you want to support True Avatars, it would be really great if you could leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube under the handle @TrueAvatars, all one word, and on Facebook and Instagram under True Avatars. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when new content drops. I welcome you to check out the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com. That's all one word, trueavatarspodcast.com. On the website, you can sign up for the newsletter, where you can get exclusive news and updates on the show. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.